Vito, Milan, they are romping it. They beat Cagliari 4-1 at the Stadio San Siro. You did the report for us on this one. You covered it for FIF. And it was a bit of an electric start at the San Siro. Talk us through the game.
It was a fabulous first half. Both teams were playing at a high tempo. Obviously, Milan had more of the possession, but it looked like that both teams were going for it. And the Rossoneri showed that the individual qualities stood out as well, instead of not just the team play. I think the superior squad quality made the difference in this case, and eventually the Cagliari defense just could not handle them. They moved the ball very quickly. The Rossoneri were, direct, and it's been quite a while since I've seen them play with such confidence. I was honestly expecting a similar result to the Lazio Spezia game, but what they did in the first half was more than enough. And the likes of Brahim Diaz, Giroud, and even Leao, they were very impressive. And Tonali to open the scoring with that free kick, that was superb. In the second half, the game sort of slowed down. Milan showed mercy on Cagliari, but Cagliari didn't show enough to really muster a comeback or show some fight to keep the scoreboard a bit respectable. I think with what Milan done, they were so relentless in the first half, and undoubtedly they deserve the 3 points. Just a wonderful performance from Pioli's men.
Yeah, Tonali scored a gorgeous goal, and I've got to admit, I was quite happy when I saw that he had scored and gotten off the mark, because he's had a lot of criticism as well throughout the summer and last season. But then that happiness turned into not quite frustration, but I kind of just felt a little bit, oh no, why have you done that? Because I saw a video of his goal held up beside a video of Andrea Pirlo's first ever goal for Milan, and they are identical. They both took free kicks from the same position and put them into the same parts of the net. And the reason I'm not happy about this is because Tonali has been called like the new Pirlo for as long as I can remember, despite not being anything much like Andrea Pirlo as a player, except for the fact that they both are quite attractive men with the similar haircut, particularly in their youth. But that's where the comparisons stop for me. But Kev, on Tonali, is this his season? He's another year older. He's had a year at Milan now to settle, and he looks like he's ready to explode.
Yeah, I think it will certainly be a better season. And that comparison with Pirlo was one of the things that I highlighted last year as an issue for his kind of stalling, or maybe just not hitting the ground running at Milan. They were also in a very good place with regards to their league performances last year, with Kessie and Benacer in the midfield. And at that point, you couldn't really expect him to sort of come in and dominate. And because of the media attention he got, there was maybe an inaccurate price, a price agreed that was the kind of not the obligation to buy, but the opportunity to buy at the end of the season. So there was probably a little bit of the fact that he felt he needed to maybe live up to that price. People wanted him to live up to that price tag, and now it's been made permanent. Almost, he's not maybe sweating over whether he's actually going to be a full-time Milan player, and actually the price that they managed to negotiate down a little is probably more reflective of actually where he is with his career and how old he is. It's almost like Brescia were charging them for the potential as opposed to what he was at the time. And now that we've got Kessie just kind of slowly coming back from the African nations, mind you, actually he will leave for the Africa Cup of Nations at some point this season, so it'll be another opportunity for Tonali to get some minutes in his belt. But actually, obviously, the Olympics is what Kessie's come back from, so he's had a shorter summer. And again, so I think that maybe that pressure, knowing that he's getting those minutes, and maybe Pioli's been very open with him, saying, start of the season, I'm going to give you this run of games. The season usually starts at a little bit of a slower pace. We mentioned the heat last week. So possibly everything is kind of lining up into place for Tonali this year to have a good sort of finally have that breakthrough season at
Fingers
Milan.
crossed. Vito, we've got players like Tonali, Rafael Leao. Who else is there? Simon Kjaer, Olivier Giroud. There's a lot of these players who are very much at the opposite ends of their careers. And I think we saw on Sunday evening that when it all comes together, this is when Milan are at their best, right?
Oh, certainly, and it's a good balance too because those veterans, they're well seasoned, uh, they have an understanding of the game in general, and they've had respectable careers, particularly Giroud, so they can advise these young players and give them some confidence. Whereas the youngsters they brought in, they've been good acquisitions, and they've shown that they do have a lot of potential, and then there's also the room for them to improve. Uh, it also shows that Pioli's been able to give them a structure, but the team's balanced. Again, what I do like about this team is that there are players in natural positions and roles that really suit them. He's not experimenting or he's not chopping or changing or trying to make them into something that they're not. So I think with most of the positions being well covered, I think that's really been beneficial for the squad and allows them to play the best football that they can.
You look at the squad, and they've got a lot of exciting players, some big names in Kjaer. I said Kjaer a minute ago, didn't I? I'm sorry, Simon. With Kjaer, Ibrahimovic, and Giroud. They've got all of these young players. Vito, you gave Brahim Diaz man of the match this evening as well. But then, Kev, you've got the likes of Davide Calabria and Alessandro Florenzi. And it's easy to look at them and just kind of think, nah. But they've got quite a big role to play there this season, don't they?
Yeah, well, I think particularly at fullback when you've got Hernandez going off on his runs up the
He was
left hand
great
side.
tonight. He was great. I'm not going to have you slander him today.
No, but I think for balance because unlike where people want two really dynamic kind of fullback stroke wing backs, which I think is fine in a free or in other formations maybe where you drop a centre, your defensive midfielder drops into the centre half. But so I think actually having a Calabria brings a bit of balance, and I don't think he's poor going forward. But why not have those players that kind of just go undetected? Because the fans always love kind of that sort of player. I had until last week even missed that Florenzi had gone to Milan until he came off of the bench. But they had Conti from Atalanta. There was this kind of dynamic rampaging. Again came in with a
He's
lot
still
of
technically
hope that
there
he
as
would.
well, I think. They're trying to get rid of him. I don't think they have yet.
Yeah, but that didn't work. So then why not Calabria? Calabria's kind of there was injury problems with Conti, but he's kind of seen off the challenges of other fullbacks. So yeah, I think they're kind of fundamental to the way teams work. Just having that player that keeps their head down, um, not doing a bad
No,
job at
not
all.
at all. I quite like him actually. To be honest, he's quite easy to look at and think, he's not great, but I do.
He's got a nice rolled down sock as well.
I've
Which,
actually noticed that. He's just one of those admirable
yeah,
professionals, though, isn't he? You know what you're getting with him. He's never going to give you a 10 out of 10, but he'll probably never give you a 2 out of 10. You're always going to get between like a 6 and a 7 out of Calabria. So I think there's definitely a space for that in any team, and I think Florenzi's a little bit cut from the same cloth. Vita, 1 point from two for Cagliari, though. After the way they finished last season, it's not the kind of start that Semplici will have hoped for.
No, not at all. They just seems that all this stuff with not being able to sign Raja Nainggolan again, and he's gone to Royal Antwerp back in his native Belgium. Rog out for the season, and then there's also this talk of Nandez leaving. That would unsettle the squad, so that's not good. Cranio didn't play in this game, but I think Milan played so well that even it would have been hard even for him to stop that sort of demolition. And just up front, I think they're going to be relying a lot on João Pedro again to provide that spark. And his pass to Dayola was superb. I mean, we need to see a lot more from that from him if Coyotes stand a chance of survival. And Pavoletti was quite disappointing, but he's the kind of guy that needs crosses, and Coyote weren't uh, producing many because Theo and Leao were just dominant on the left, and then on the right you've got Calabria and Salamakers putting a good shift. So for Coyote, it just was not easy at all to put in any adequate supply for Pavoletti just hang in the air.
Luckily, Salernitana and Venezia are doing so badly that Cagliari are probably only going to be fighting with one other side for
Just
survival.
like last season, basically. Although it's the two new boys who are very, very much in trouble, it would seem. Anyway,